on the 6 screens tele-network. Stay with us. Dickie, give me your phone for you, if you would.
Source of precise, reliable, and factual material exposing the Watchtower organization.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in. Welcome in to JW World News. Well, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we're going to be talking about it here live tonight. We're going to have people calling in from all over the world voicing their concerns, so we are glad you are with us. Thank you. Well, there you have it, everyone. Hello, my name is Rick Farron, and I am coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, the epicenter of apostasy, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. Man, do we have a lot of apostates coming out of the woodwork up here. They are leaving kingdom halls. They're closing kingdom halls down. Friends, this is so wonderful. We have been doing this broadcast for 16 years, but I am so glad to report that we are seeing a major hemorrhage in the Watchtower organization. People are waking up. They're smelling the coffee. They are seeing what's going on. So we're going to be giving you the top stories. Now, those would be the critical stories that are taking place in the Watchtower. That's the stories the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. Well, I'm so glad you can come in and do the news with us here tonight. And I'm going to give you a telephone number. As a matter of fact, if you want to call into the program tonight, I'm only going to give it once. So let me give that number right now. So if you're listening in on YouTube or Facebook or a 6 Screens video suite or a radio network, here's the telephone number. The telephone number is 727-731-6701. Friends, you don't need a PIN. You do not need a PIN. Dial that number. And all you'll have to do when you come in is hit *6. It'll unmute you, and you can speak up and tell us what your concerns are with the Watchtower organization. I'm going to ask everyone that's coming in here right now, please mute yourself. I'm going to make this possible right now. Hold on 1 second.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
I'm going to mute everyone. If you want to come in later on, when I open up the lines, you can hit *6 and you'll be able to speak up. But anyways, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower this week. Boy, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys have been following this or not, but the Jehovah's Witnesses have a difficult story to deal with out in the state of Utah. As a matter of fact, the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be in big time trouble. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. We discussed this before on JW World News, but we'll discuss it again. The Supreme Court in Utah has received a religious freedom dispute, instructing an Ogden, Utah court to take another look at a suit filed by a woman who alleged Jehovah's Witness leaders in her congregation subjected her to humiliating discipline as a teenager after she accused a fellow church member of rape. I don't know if you remember that or not, folks, but we've been discussing this story now for the last few years. This all took place in 2008, but it's been dragged through the court systems. The suit alleged initially that this woman was raped, and the elders inflicted emotional distress. They humiliated the girl, and they caused her a lot of anxiety in life. As a matter of fact, the judge in the district court, even though humiliation, let me just put it this way. Let me say it in my own words. So we had this teenage girl. She went in and filed a lawsuit against the Watchtower. She was raped. And when she went into the judicial committee hearing, there was 3 elders there. Her mother was there with her. Her stepfather was there with her. But she went in there and they played a tape of the actual rape. Friends, this is totally disgusting. So they played a tape of the rape, everything that was said during it, and they were accusing her of porneia. Well, we know what that is. That's sexual misconduct, right? How humiliating would that be to go into a judicial hearing and not knowing that this episode was taped, and then she had to hear that? Friends, that would cause tremendous emotional stress on anyone, wouldn't it? Well, she claims expressly that these religious questions regarding her standards and her way of conducting herself, that this is not right, what happened. They claim that, because of her conduct, that they were going to not go forward with the lawsuit. So what do you think of that? I mean, isn't that terrible? So now the judge that originally dismissed the case, the district court said, no, we're not going to hear it. Religions, now we know Utah is a very religious state, right? That is where the Mormon church headquarters is, in Salt Lake City. So there's a lot of Mormons. There's a lot of decisions that are made on religion that side toward religion. And in Utah, they figured that Jehovah's Witnesses had the right to discipline this young girl in any way they wanted. And the original court said, no, we're not going to catch it with a 10-foot pole. This is a religious matter, and it's been dealt with through a tribunal in the Jehovah's Witness organization. Do you think that's fair? I don't think it's fair at all. But, they did file an appeal. They filed an appeal, and they even lost the appeal. But then more attention came to this case, and the more the Supreme Court in Utah looked at it, they realized that this is an ongoing problem. We cannot allow this to continue. I mean, this poor girl, they said, she lost her self-esteem. She was totally embarrassed. She was disgraced. She was humiliated, loss of enjoyment in life, and spiritual suffering. This is what the Watchtower caused this young girl. What type of an organization would ever do anything like that to a poor young girl like that? Now, what happened here is the Watchtower is now being reinvestigated in the state of Utah. After examining this, and officials in the court, including even the Supreme Court of the United States, after looking at some of the extenuating circumstances regarding this court case, they realized that this was unbelievable. And now they're coming back and they're saying that the Jehovah's Witness organization, that religious institution, cannot exist in a vacuum or in total isolation from all of its other parts. In other words, on the surface, a religion can look pretty good to people. They encourage godliness, wholesomeness. So they have, at least the state recognizes there's good part to religion, but the state of Utah is now saying, wait a minute, there are also bad parts of religion. A religion cannot exist in a vacuum. In other words, nothing can penetrate through their decisions. So now, just this week, it's been announced that they're going to bring this case back to court, and the Watchtower is going to have to answer. I'll tell you, this is great. All of the media they're getting, it's in major newspapers, and anybody reading this story, friends, I have to tell you, they would be disgusted. See, the Watchtower organization it is getting a tarnished image. People are finding out, the court of public opinion, they are finding out about Jehovah's Witnesses. And you know something? Many Jehovah's Witnesses are finding out too. They read papers, they see television programs and news articles. Many, many witnesses are leaving. This conduct by the Watchtower is reprehensible. It has no reason to gain popularity on the goodness of the Watchtower. It's not good. The Watchtower, every news article I come across doing our news broadcast here, and we've been doing it for 16 years, and every article I come across as of late is critical news about the Watchtower. Now, that wasn't always the case. When we started 16 years ago exposing the Watchtower, I have to tell you, there were some good stories in the news about the Watchtower. Well, it was always about in the summer, how the witnesses are meeting in Portland, Maine, in the meeting in San Diego, California. And they would, the news articles would say, wow, the witnesses are coming into town. Our hotels are filled. Our restaurants are booming. They're spending money. No more of that. They're not meeting in conventions like that in person anymore. It's all online. So the only thing coming across the internet concerning Jehovah's Witnesses is all critical, negative, cynical news regarding the Watchtower. I'll tell you that this is going to bring them down. I can't believe that an organization that has the tarnished image that the Watchtower has can continue much longer. You know, I've always said it, friends, the monkey died, the circus is over. The Watchtower's cooked. And that's why we're going to be talking about their media center too. That's going to be coming up on the news tonight. And we've got to stop this. We're going to be talking in depth about that media center. So stay with us. I want to thank you all for coming into JW World News. Man, I'm telling you, it's just amazing to me how many people have been listening in to our news broadcast on our radio network, on our telephone line. We're really glad to have you all. This is my favorite night of the week, friends. This is when I really get pumped up. This is when I really put the pedal to the metal. I love being an activist, exposing one of the most dangerous organizations on the planet. And you say, well, Rick, why do you say the Watchtower is dangerous? I'm going to also include another adjective. Not only are they dangerous, they're also destructive. This organization, when you join it, you do not realize the problems that you're going to encounter. Your family could be broken up. You could receive all kinds of problems, shunning, dying from refusing blood. It's a destructive organization. You're on with us. Go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say. Go ahead, Chewy.
This is Chewy, yeah. You're talking about being destructive. I was over at a friend's house, best friend. I was in his wedding. He was in my wedding. I asked him how his son was doing. And he said, I don't know. I ain't talked with him in 2 years. Because it's his fellowship.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his phone number. He doesn't have anything. He has no idea how he's doing. You talk about having no natural affection. That's the epitome of having no natural affection. I went to another Zoom funeral this afternoon with the witnesses. And I had a son on there. His grandma passed away. She had a big family. She was right up there with mom. Man, she's like baptized in like 63. Lived on the same street. Our families used to hang out together. We were close. And her son, her grandson, kind of went off the haywire or whatever. He straightened himself out, but he's still not a witness, and he doesn't really believe the way the witnesses do. He goes to a separate church. His parents wouldn't even acknowledge him on the Zoom meeting. Everybody else saying hi to him. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? On the Zoom meeting, the parents wouldn't even say hi to him. Didn't even look in his direction. It was awful. So, yep, you're right.
Well, thank you, Chewy. That's exactly true. And that's why we say they're destructive. And that's why we say they're dangerous. And another thing, if you get in your study cults, let me just throw this out at the audience. There's plenty of cults. There's all kinds of cults. There's religious cults. There's business cults. There's cults that aren't dangerous. There's hospital cults. There's stock cults. There's a lot of different cults. But let me tell you something. In examining and researching cult activity, the most dangerous cults are the Christian cults. And they play on people's minds, just like the Watchtower does. They make it feel like when you get in there and join them and you get to know their ways of doing business, you feel that they are God's spokespeople. That this is very dangerous. This gets embedded in people's minds and hearts, that the Watchtower is, in essence, if you want to say it, it's synonymous with God. Many people think the Watchtower is God in their own. Now, they'll debate that if you ask them that, but they equate the organization to God. So you can see the pressure that's put on people. So a Christian cult who portrays this idea of, we are God's spokespeople can really mess people's minds up. It can make them feel so guilty. They don't know what to do if they ever left. They're leaving God's organization. Now, there are other cults that aren't dangerous. Tesla, I don't know if you watch business news, but they talk about Tesla as their stock, Tesla stock in the company, as being a cult stock. At times, they don't know why people buy it. Sometimes it even goes way down and people still will buy it. They're attracted to Tesla. Sometimes for no reason at all, they will buy stock in Tesla. And there's many stocks that are called cult stocks. And another thing too, Harley riders, those Harley riders that drive those big motorcycle Harleys, and they have the long hair and the beard, and they got tattoos and nose rings and bandanas. That's like a cult too, but they're not dangerous. They're not dangerous. They might look dangerous, but they're not dangerous. They're not messing up people's lives. But the Watchtower, a Christian cult, really is the most dangerous because you feel that you are attached closer to God. And when you leave, you just don't have anywhere to go because that was the so-called truth. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News, the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we're talking about it here, right here. We do it every Saturday night. So why don't you join us every Saturday night? I think you'll find it really, really fascinating. Friends, I get information from a man who goes by the name Atlantis. Now, he's an insider. He is an insider at the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization. I don't know what position he serves in, but he sends me, along with other apostates, activists, he sends information, I'm sure, to Mike and Kimmy and John Cedars and others. But I thank him for sending me information. And we get these announcements. When we were in the Kingdom Hall, every week we went to the midweek meeting. And in the service meeting, they would always come up with announcements and reminders, right? And we'd all look forward to, what's new from the Watchtower? Well, let me tell you, there's an announcement that came across this week. In fact, it was issued for June 1st, 2021. It's a strange announcement, but it's basically for all elders in Canada. And it says, concerning judicial matters, this announcement replaces previous direction regarding the need to hold all judicial matters in abeyance. In other words, up till now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, judicial matters have been held in abeyance. Well, abeyance is it's been put on, kind of like on hold. We'll get to it when we can. All of these judicial matters were suspended. Obviously, during COVID, nobody was meeting anywhere to do this. Unless it was really severe, they would just fellowship you on Zoom. But you can imagine for 15 months, Jehovah's Witness elders around the world have been holding off in disfellowshipping people. They suspended it. Well, now that things are coming somewhat back to normal, we're finding out that the Watchtower, at least in Canada, this is underlined Canada, this is not the United States yet. And sometimes I don't know why when the Watchtower releases information, sometimes it's only, for a country like Canada or Spain, for example. We're going to read one tonight for Spain, but they don't do it for the whole world. And I have my own feelings on that. Friends, I know the Watchtower, when they dish out information, they send out trial balloons that they want to make sure everything is going to go over right. So they pick a little bit of information, they send it to a certain group of people, they see how it settles, and then they'll come forward with more information for other countries. But this is for Canada. They are now saying that you can meet in a Kingdom Hall. Most of the provinces in Canada can now meet. There's a couple that they have to take precautions with, and they don't want the witnesses meeting in the Kingdom Hall, the elders, to at least bring judicial matters to hand. So here we have it. In Canada now, if you are creating issues for the Watchtower, you now can be brought in. You've been put on hold for 15 months. So now you can be brought in to a judicial committee hearing in the Kingdom Hall, and you can indeed be disfellowshipped. So that is something. And I have to say that, it's just in Canada right now. Well, why aren't they coming down on members in the United States? Well, we'll have to see. Right now, it seems like those in the United States have a get out of jail free card. We'll have to see what happens. Well, maybe because in the United States, there's so many issues with pedophilia that they don't want to, with pedophilia and other issues. There's a lot of witnesses here. There's over 1 million witnesses, according to their information. And, they don't want to lose a lot of people. So maybe right now, this has been adding up. There might be thousands of people to be disfellowshipped. So they're going to go about very slowly. They need all the recruits they can get. They don't want to be kicking people out and their numbers going down. That's my own feelings on it, friends. Maybe you have different feelings. But anyways, I also wanted to speak up and let you be aware of other things as well. There's also another reminder, and this one didn't make any sense to me at all. It was to be read in the Spanish congregations, not in American congregations, but it was a Spanish-related announcement, and it was concerning the pandemic, and it was something for the body of elders to consider. And this went out in June, so they're reviewing this now, and they're updating it. But what it is a 32-page announcement. I'm not going to get into all of it because we discussed it before. It's almost like they just copied and pasted the same thing they did a few months ago. And they were just telling the Spanish people to be very cautious about the COVID virus, to make sure you're taking all the precautions that you can take. And they were saying that the Watchtower has more information on this virus and the pandemic than even the Watchtower has more information than secular authorities. So they're still trying to create reasons for the witnesses not to go back to Kingdom Halls. Now, friends, we know right now that churches are opening up, sporting events are opening up, restaurants are opening up. So what is the deal here? Why is it that we don't have Kingdom Halls, readily getting opened? Convention sites, they're not going to convention sites. They're doing everything on streaming. Now, in the article, see, it's an old article. They just copied and pasted. This doesn't make any sense. In the article that I'm reading, that is a reminder to the Spanish congregation, they're talking about 5,000 deaths because of COVID. They were saying 5,000 people died because of COVID. That is, Jehovah's Witnesses died. Now, that's not right. It's not true, because just last month on JW Streaming, I believe it was on Streaming 4, I believe it was Mark Sanderson, he brought out this 17,000 deaths. So they sent them an old, it was a 32-page article. They updated a little bit of it, but somebody wasn't on the ball. They didn't update it all. There's now, from what we understand, 17,000 people, Jehovah's Witnesses that is, have died from from COVID. Let's go with that, from COVID. So I'm just thinking here that it's amazing to me how the Watchtower sends these reminders out. But the thing that when I was reading through all of this, I come across something here in the 32-page article that I saw of interest. And it got my attention because, during the COVID pandemic, churches around the world were shut down too. Catholic churches, Protestant churches, mosques, temples, all the churches were shut down because of COVID. And if you went up to any of these churches, I know even here locally, and if you went up to any of these churches, they would have a sign on the door. And it would say, we're not meeting in person, but we're meeting online. Here is the link. Here is the password. Why don't you come in and join us? Well, they're making it very profound, very emphatic that the witnesses are not to do this. If the kingdom halls are still closed, by all means, they don't want you to put a sign on the door of a kingdom hall saying how to connect to the meetings. They are saying, don't put any passcodes on there. Don't put anything. Now, why do you think they're saying that? Friends, the other churches would put it right up there. So, if you're an individual and you express a genuine interest, they're saying, in coming to a Jehovah's Witness meeting, details to connect to the meeting can be provided to him. But they're not going to put all of these passwords and what have you on the door of a kingdom hall. And I think most of you know why. Who would like to step in here and tell me why? Why won't the Jehovah's Witnesses put the passwords? And, if they want. Yes, Anne-Marie.
Hi, thank you. I love it that you processed that. I think we all remember a good 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago, they started having not just ushers at the conventions, but they were almost like heavy duty security guards or Secret Service. Anybody coming toward their venue was scrutinized. Who are you with? What congregation? Where's your identification? Where's your badge? Who's your congregation presiding overseer? Whatever. And if they had somebody that was, say, an interested person, that person was often grilled. And more than a few actually said on the 6 screens, if I recall this correctly, maybe I just heard it on YouTube, I don't know. But I do remember several who were not actually baptized, who were coming because they had been strongly encouraged by their Bible study teacher to come to the convention. Remember, that's what we were always encouraged to do, Rick. As witnesses, we were encouraged to strongly encourage your study to come to the convention. We want to move them along toward baptism. And so many were being treated so badly, followed around, telling other people, watch them, telling them maybe you should leave, where's your car? They were scrutinizing them terribly. And also there were those who had been disfellowshipped who wanted to come back, who wanted to attend the convention, but were treated so badly. And it's like they're so secretive. They're acting like it's some special club, but it's really not. They don't want what they really are about, what they're really saying, what they're really teaching to get out. Otherwise, we'd have a whole new show on the 6 screen Saturday, Rick. Thank you.
Well, there you go, Anne-Marie. I'm with you 100%. My goodness, good comment. Well, we get more people. Yes, go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, I agree with Anne Marie. I think that's the big thing. They don't want other people to know the twisted doctrines and the evil practices that they're doing, and they're showboating there in their meetings. So they just really careful about who they got in. But I asked this same question that you just asked about why they put that don't give out the code, don't put it on the signs in the Kingdom Hall, don't put it on your answering machines. I asked that in several Jehovah's Witness sites, and you know what they're telling me? They're telling me that, we do that so we don't get disruptions, because those apostates are trying to disrupt our meetings. And I mean, I came back with several things. I'm like, you mean kind of like having a big loudspeaker going on while people's having services and their family time and stuff? You mean disrupting like that? Because you remember that's how Jehovah's Witnesses did. But one guy, he told me, or I told him, I said, I understand how ones came in, protesters came in or gave their testimonies inside Kingdom Halls, ones that had been hurt. But I said, here, this is different with Zoom. The Zoom host can control and turn off microphones and cameras. He can turn that off. So, that's why I think it's more like along Anne Marie's sign. He came back with the zinger, though. He come back, he said, well, it's just not microphones and cameras. Somebody has got on there and hacked into it and started drawing penises on the screen. And I told him, I haven't told him yet, but I'm going to go back and say, that's terrible. I mean, I think that's disgusting. Not quite as bad as a Bethelite artist subliminally putting it on the back of their songbook, though.
Here you go. Isn't that something, Randy, huh? But I mean, the witnesses are scared to death. And I think that's one of the reasons, too, why they're dragging their feet, opening up Kingdom Halls once again, and even convention centers. They know darn well they have hurt so many people. And, of course, the Kingdom Hall crashes have come out. The protesters have come out. So this has got them frightened. They're saying, wow, when we go back, we're going to have to deal with some monumental issues. So thank you, Randy, for checking in with us. Wow, you're on.
Hey, Stuart.
Yes, Chewy, go ahead.
Hey, I got a question for Randy. Randy, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, remember that molestation case over in McAllister? Was that the one that was on oxygen?
Yeah, Ronnie Lawrence.
Right. Okay, they got another one. Kim and Mikey, on one of their latest videos, they got another one in the same hall. It's a different case, but it's the McAllister hall. I got the court document.
Different pedophile, different molester?
Yes.
What's his name?
Oh, shoot, I ain't got my iPad on me. I could probably text it to you. I got your number. You got the number?
Just shoot it to me.
Yeah, I'll take a picture of it tonight and show it. But I got the actual court document. They're filing another case and indicting just what they said in Zalkin, the same thing that was.
I'm not surprised because that pedophile that was disfellowshipped, there was another elder going around after they were disfellowshipped. He was seen having dinner with this pedophile out, at a restaurant. I mean, here you're not even supposed to be associating with a disfellowship person, and they're hanging together. I just said, well, birds of a feather is probably hanging together.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious whether I thought that was the same hall. I didn't know. Hey,
your wife's still going, right, Chewy?
Yeah, she's still going.
Well, it's supposed to find out for. I heard a rumor, and you can probably have her tell you, but that either tomorrow, it's going to be tomorrow, or it might be next week. But they're telling everybody to be there because a special announcement is going to be made about the Kingdom Halls. Have you heard that?
Oh, really? No, I haven't heard that.
Wow. It's just a rumor, so I don't know if that's anything true to it or not.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did want to comment, because I got to go. Hey, Rick, remember that I got that email list that you did of all the halls and all the properties, and I was looking at it, and I had to laugh. I had to laugh. This guy was down there in Louisiana. He was down in Louisiana when he did that video. Oh, we're just increasing. We're just increasing and all this and all that. I looked at that thing, that email list that you sent. They got upwards of 20 to 30 halls being sold in Louisiana.
Yes, wasn't that quite the list, huh?
Yeah, man, that one, I looked at that one. I actually Googled this one. I Googled them in Oklahoma, and they were all, I fact checked everything. But that one, that big one that Anne Marie was talking about, the one where her mom lives at, right there in Honolulu.
Yeah.
That on the list, it was $7.6 million, and it had out to the side. It said Assembly Hall with 5 Kingdom Halls that met there, 5 congregations that met there. All right, I Googled it, and I put in the Jehovah's Witness, and then I Googled the address, and it had a picture of the Assembly Hall. It took you to that place on Google or whatever. Then you put it in there, and you put it in there without Jehovah's Witnesses. It's thinking pharmacy now.
Wow.
Yeah, they got $7.6 million for that one.
My goodness, huh? Geez, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Boy, well, I'll tell you what, I mean, they keep selling it off. Thank you, Chewy. Thank you very much. Well, there you have it. I mean, that's Chewy. Friends, what you're looking at, you see it on your screen right now. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, you're looking at the gigantic mega center, the media mega center for the Watchtower. That is a proposed architectural rendering. There it is on 242 acres. We got over 645 apartments right around there. Recreation center, self-generating electric system. That is it. Friends, I'm impeding you. I am imploring you. I am doing everything I possibly can to get you to write a letter to RAMAPO, New York, to stop the big media center that the Watchtower is proposing to build. Friends, we have to expose the Watchtower. It's just absolutely unbelievable that this town, a charming town in a beautiful, pristine area, is letting one of the world's most destructive cults come and continue to build their world headquarters in that area of New York. We have to stop the mega media center. I'm asking you if you could write a letter. That would be wonderful. And I have to say this, I'm going to tell you what's going on here. The Jehovah's Witnesses, this may be their last stand. This may be their last opportunity to keep their business afloat. We know that the house-to-house work, the cart witnessing, writing letters, calling people on the phone, it's not working going forward. It's not, friends. The Jehovah's Witnesses know it, not only the organization, but the witnesses themselves. Jehovah's Witnesses are losing too many people. They are hemorrhaging big time. They are hoping that these videos that they're going to produce in this mega media center, they're hoping that these videos and streaming programs can connect with people worldwide and bring in new recruits. They're not bringing new recruits in. They're telling you they are, but in essence, they are not. Now, you guys know, I talked about it before. I joined the Zoom meeting on May 26th. It was a planning board hearing. I did all the necessary things I had to be able to join in on Zoom. They sent me the passwords. I came in. I wanted to voice my concerns about the Watchtower. I wanted people to know in RAMAPO and the surrounding areas how dangerous the Watchtower is. The people up there have no clue how dangerous the Watchtower is. So I wanted to alert the people on that Zoom meeting on May 26th, but you guys know what happened. I was shut down. But I called the planning board the next day. And I said, what's the story with this? I was peaceful. I wasn't obnoxious. I came in a very calm way. Why wouldn't you let me speak up and talk what was on my mind? I just wanted to alert the public. I'm saying up there that people do not know who the Jehovah's Witnesses are. So the woman I talked to at the RAMAPO town office, she says she agreed. She kind of was she was listening in that night, and she said, yeah, I remember, Mr. Ferrin, you came in, but they shut you down. I says, well, who was that man that shut me down? I says, was he a lawyer for the Watchtower? Who was he? And she said, well, he was a hired lawyer, she thought, by the Watchtower organization. So, they knew there would be people opposing the Watchtower, like myself, that would come in and voice our concern. But I wasn't doing it in an unpeaceful way. I was doing it very diplomatic, folks. Seriously, I was, but they shut me down. So the woman told me when I called her the following day after the meeting that I could write a letter, an email letter, or even if you want to do a snail mail letter, you could do that too. But I went email, and she said that you could write a letter to the planning board. Now, if you're listening in here tonight, I want you to know I'm going to give you, get a piece of paper, get a pencil. This is the woman that you want to write to. Her name is Hannah Ross, Ross. Her email is simple. It's Rosh, ROSSH, at RAMAPO.org. ROSSH, 2 S's, at RAMAPO.org. So I wrote her and I voiced my concerns on how I felt about this Watchtower Mega Media Center. I'm going to read you a good part of my letter. I want you to hear it. And then I want you to write a letter, if you can, if you find maybe sometimes you can't do it because of certain restrictions or what have you. But if you can write a letter, this is what I wrote to Hannah. Hello, my name is Rick Ferrin. On May 26, the planning board met in a public meeting concerning the Watchtower organization's proposed building site. It was advertised in 2 newspapers as a public meeting. I signed up ahead of time following the instructions from the planning board to speak up in the meeting. So, that's what I did. I spoke up in a peaceful tone to express my concerns. I was immediately told I could not voice my concerns. I was told, I felt at the time that it was unjust and very unreasonable, right? I couldn't say a word. Now, this is a public meeting. It was advertised as a public meeting. And then I went on to say my concerns were for the people of RAMAPO and for the general area. I have relatives that live in the area, and I felt it was necessary for me to speak up and share some information about who the Watchtower is and the tarnished reputation they have. Well, you'll agree with me, right? They do have a tarnished reputation. I'm not saying anything here that's not true. And then it goes on, I went on my letter to say the Watchtower organization is currently in the news worldwide for their covering up of sexual child abuse. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not embellishing. This is truthful. That I said that thousands of children have been sexually abused. Countless lawsuits and out-of-court settlements are taking place. The Watchtower has a secret database of thousands of known child molesters and will not release it to authorities. Am I saying anything here that's not true? Would you say that Rick Ferrin is embellishing this? I would say no, and I know that you would agree with me. The Watchtower is being exposed worldwide, I wrote to Hannah, and people are connecting Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses, with pedophilia and child abuse. Yes. Now, to allow such an organization to build an audio, video, studio, mega center in your charming area where families love to visit and vacation, it could persuade families to holiday elsewhere. Allowing this project to be built could have dire consequences on the community. Potentially, many people visiting this complex Well, they're known as pedophiles and child molesters. Friends, they're going to have, even the Watchtower said it, 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses visiting this mega center daily. Friends, many of those will be potential pedophiles. And then I wrote the planning board should consider the safety of the citizens along with the environmental impact. Yeah, they were only talking, they said the other night when I came in, we're only talking about the environmental impact. Well, friends up there in RAMAPO, in that planning board, you should take other factors into consideration. Now, and I mentioned this in the letter, now notice this is good. When people visit the RAMAPO area, they leave thinking good things. Great camping, beautiful parks, family enjoyment, and they would have a desire to return. But I said allowing the Watchtower complex to be built potentially could tarnish RAMAPO's image. RAMAPO does not want to be known as the pedophile capital of the world. Case closed. That's my position. That's my position. Maybe you don't agree with me. If you're listening in on YouTube, Facebook, you might say, Rick, that is just a little over the top. I don't know if it is or not, but you have your right to opinion. Well, that's my opinion on it. And I really do believe we've got to stop this. So anyways, if you want information on who to write to, her name is Hannah Ross. You can write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. I'll send you all the information you can. Write a letter. Let them know what's going on behind the curtains. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Rick?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Let the gentleman talk.
Ladies first. Well,
Well, go ahead, Thomas. Go ahead. You're on with us, Thomas.
Thomas Sox, Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah, I just did you say anything about the shunning or the blood doctrine or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to overload the donkey. I figured, I just focused on one subject. But we have, I got a woman. She wrote a letter. She sent it to me. And these other concerns, she brought up the contamination problems. So other people writing other concerns. But if I unloaded all of my barrels, I might not have got the attention. You know what I mean?
Right. That makes sense. I'm glad you did it that way. I don't mean to change the subject real quick. I'm just curious if you were aware about that 12-year-old boy that committed suicide over a year ago and how the witnesses accused the aunt of being a liar. And she proved it. They got egg on their faces, proved it wrong, and showed the coroner's report how he committed suicide. It wasn't like the JW said.
Well, can you tell us a little more about it? Do you have some more information?
Yeah, I sent you a link on your messenger. Anyway, she posted on the Facebook just the other day, and it's very, very clear. It shows the actual proof of coroner's report. It showed that he had taken a tie, like maybe from his suit at the Kingdom Hall, and he put it around something in the closet, and it cut off his air. And they didn't see him until about 2 hours later. By the time they found him, he was purple. It was already too late. They couldn't revive him. But they were trying to say, Jehovah's Witnesses, elders, and all of them, that it was a matter of something he was born with, some sort of a heart problem. But it was far, far from being the truth. And she was able to get egg on their faces and prove them a big, fat, old, blatant liars, because it was a definite suicide, and she had the burden of proof. So I bet that really silenced was good. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. Very, very sad. Very, very sad about this 12-year-old boy. Hardly lived his life. His JW dad was very abusive to him, and the way they treated that aunt was horrible. She never really had much of a relationship with him because she didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. But I was so glad that she really came to his run and stood up for him. That was outstanding.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Thomas, for sharing that with us. And we know there's a lot of suicides that go on in this silly organization. They push so many people to the brink. Thank you, Thomas.
You bet.
Anne-Marie, you're on with us. Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Hi, thank you. Rick, I just want to applaud you for you to be so, you're amazing. You pointed the dart right to the bullseye of the target of why those people should not allow Watchtower to build that media center, because you're going from their point of view, from their point of reference. They don't understand the evil of Watchtower. And it's just like Paul said, when you're with the Romans and you're talking with the Romans, if you want them to understand what you're saying, you have to get on the page that they're on, or they're not going to get it. We can imagine Watchtower representatives planted a lot of little juicy, oh, you better watch out for these wicked apostates. We have a lot of ex-members that they have like nothing better than to go around and spread lies, and a lot of them know about this thing that we're proposing, and they like nothing better. They're just a bunch of troublemakers. Watch out for them. We can understand. But what you did, I applaud you so much. You told these people, you have to see it this way, or you're going to write or whatever. But to point out, you got to understand something. Watchtower obviously is using their beautiful scenery, their beautiful location, their beautiful, their ambiance. You know, everybody knows, oh, this is a great place to live. Everybody's happy. Everything's lovely. It's all hearts and flowers. And they like to present that image about themselves. So they're kind of using these people and, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to bring that and it's going to be great. But no, the reality is this is a whitewashed grave with a bunch of sewage underneath. And you need to see it for what it is. Because once they are there established in that place, it will tear down everything and everybody. I'm sorry, Rick. This is just so beyond my imagination, because I still remember Johnny the Bethelite talking about what he and a few of his friends at Bethel had discovered, that on the dark web, in the deep dark web, way down in the gutter, in the subterranean of the web, that they discovered that the governing body and a lot of people they were affiliated with were doing a lot of evil things with child pornography, ring, pedophilia. It was really, really bad. And that was the last time we heard him. Thank you, Rick.
Well, there you have it, Anne Marie. No, thank you for your good, kind comments there. And, you know, we got to really stop and think about this. It's a beautiful, charming area. And like anything, let's just kind of use some illustrations here so people can get the major thrust of what I'm talking about. Let's go with Jeffrey Epstein. You know, he wasn't a good man. He was a known pedophile, a real creep. He was put in a prison or a jail, at least in New York somewhere. And then they said that he committed suicide. But, you know, most people believe he was murdered. But that's beside the point. But the point I want to make here, Charles Manson was a bad person, too. And the prison that he was put into, or the prison that Jeffrey Epstein would be put into, every time a person went by that prison, whatever town it was in, they would say, that's where Epstein is. That's the prison that Charles Manson's in. And you'd get a bad reputation. You really, really would. Well, whether you want it or not. So you got this pristine area up in New York where, you know, I was up there. And I've spent a number of days up there protesting back in 2016. I visited with Susan on another occasion. And I have to tell you, really, it's a beautiful area. And for the Watchtower to set up not only their world headquarters up there in Orange County, but a mile and a half away, this mega media center, man, it's a large complex. And, you know, people go up there with families camping. It's a beautiful area for camping and vacationing. But there's going to be families when they realize the Watchtower is there and the Watchtower is bringing all of these visitors in that are known pedophiles, they're going to look elsewhere. That's how it works. I can't tell you that, you know, everyone's going to feel that way, but enough could feel that way, and it could actually slant that area, take away all of its pristine, beautiful scenery, and it could be known as a pit of debauchery. That's how I feel about it. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Well, you're on 6th range. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, just wanted to say, it would really be nice. I don't know if it could be done, but it would be so nice if long before they get too far along with it, if there could be a gigantic protest and people could get a lot of flyers about the dangers of this evil cult and, what they do to families and people's lives. And at least they would know long before and get a good warning about who these people really are. It'd be neat too if we could get on in front of a speaker and, just kind of like, not like preach, but just, tell people, what's going on with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that way a lot of people could hear.
Yeah, well, that's a good thought. In fact, I went up there in 2017. 2016, I'm sorry, that they had the vast apostate army. We had a big protest up there right in front of the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses in Warwick, New York. I was there, and I really enjoyed being there. There were about 53 of us who have left the Watchtower that wanted to come out and show our concern and show our feelings toward this debased organization. And, what it was is, we spent a weekend up there, and the W5 video crew from Canada, the W5 is like 60 Minutes here in America, and they filmed the whole thing. They were there, and they wanted to see how we were exposing the Watchtower. So they sent a film crew. It was played in Canada. It was a big story. As a matter of fact, so we all went out Saturday. We were going to protest in the afternoon against the Watchtower. In fact, it was Sunday, I'm sorry. But on Saturday, we were going to go out and visit the community, Warwick and all the surrounding areas. And we were going to go in the house-to-house work. And we were going to bring pamphlets telling people how dangerous the Watchtower is. So not a lot of the protesters wanted to do that. They felt funny. But I said, I don't feel funny. I'll go out. I'll hand the pamphlets out. I'll knock on the doors of the people in Warwick. I'll let people know who the Jehovah's Witnesses are. So they filmed me. In fact, I was in that documentary on W5 in Canada. And I was walking, there was a film crew following me, and I was walking up to houses, knocking on doors, telling the people that there's a cult in their backyard. And Thomas, what really flabbergasted me is a lot of the people up there living in Warwick, they did not even know the Jehovah's Witnesses world headquarters was there. I'm serious. And I said, do you know about the Jehovah's Witnesses? Do you know they have their world headquarters here? Well, I'm not too sure. Is that right? I said, yes. I said, this is a cult. See, people have to be aware of who is moving into their territory. I would not want the Watchtower organization to set their headquarters up on the town I live in. That would bring reproach upon my town. This is not a good organization. This is an organization that is now being judged in the court of public opinion. The world does not have a good feeling toward witnesses right now. The witnesses have never cozied up to the world. That they always chastised the world. They always had names for people in the world: goats, bad people, worldly people. The world is now sick of it. The world is sick of it. I wouldn't want them in my backyard. Thank you, Thomas. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news. The Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. Friends, I know. You're probably listening in. Geez, Rick, will you cut these guys some slack? No, I'm not going to cut them slack. This is an evil organization. And I know at times I'm more extreme than most of your activists. But friends, I'm extreme because If you did a program for 16 years and you had to listen to all of the stories that I hear on the 6 screens, I've been doing this for 16 years. I have never missed a Saturday night. We are here, as I always say, because you are here and you want to tell your story. Friends, there have been people, you just heard Thomas, a young boy killed himself. I've had people come on here, numerous people. In the last month, I've had 3 people tell me by listening into the 6 screens, they avoided suicide. They avoided suicide. When you hear all these people speaking up, and we have people speaking up from all over, when you hear them speaking up, it reinforces your understanding of how evil this organization is. Well, thank you. Thank you for being with us tonight. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. And I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give out. I believe that we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep fighting. Now, a lot of people, and I'm not going to chastise you for it, you don't think that exposing the Watchtower by protesting or speaking out against them in a way that you might not appreciate, you think that might be too much. It just feeds into their persecution complex. I could care less about their persecution complex. That's a phony baloney story. These people have to be exposed. And I'm asking you to come out from behind your computer screen, write a letter, go protest in front of a Kingdom Hall. I'm asking you to do that. If more people would do that, friends, this Watchtower would be out of business fast. All right, let's move on. We get more. Yes, Anne-Marie. Yeah.
Rick, I'm sorry. I got to jump in on you.
Yeah.
I have to read, and please let me do it. Ephesians 5, New World Translation, verse 11 and 12. Stop sharing in the unfruitful works that belong to the darkness. We know that's Watchtower. And rather expose them for what they are, for the things they do in secret are shameful even to mention. What do you do, Rick, every Saturday for 16 years? You have stopped having anything to do with this organization, and you go on and you expose them for what they are. That is the command in Scripture, Ephesians 5, 11 and 12. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anne-Marie. And I just want to tell the audience, too, that, I've been around this organization for quite a while. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 50 years of my life. And I also have to tell you, not boasting, not thinking I was special, but I was of the anointed class. Now you're going to go, oh, yeah, anointed. Well, I was of the anointed class when I was in the Watchtower. And my former wife was as well. And I told you the story here before. I know this organization inside and out. And in 2000, I was invited. I don't want to repeat this in a way that's boasting or anything, but I want people to know where I'm coming from. I was invited by Brother Loesch. Do you know him? He's a governing body member to this day at the Watchtower Society in New York. He invited me personally to come down to New York, to Brooklyn, when they were still there in the year 2000. I came down there with my former wife. Her name was Inez. We were both of the anointed class. We were in good standing. We were not called in the back room. We kept our nose clean. And he connected with us. He liked us. So he invited me to come down to the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. And it was a possible interview. In fact, it was an interview, from what I now gather, to be perhaps a governing body member. And it was unbelievable, friends. In fact, the very first thing Brother Loesch, I'm calling him brother, the very first thing Brother Loesch said to me when we went into his office, he wanted to spend the whole day with us. He wanted me to spend the whole day. I'm saying, well, why would a governing body member want to spend the whole day with me? Some Joe Smo from Massachusetts. What's this all about? But he was very interested in the fact that I was anointed, and he brought up that the phone was ringing off the hook at the time. And he said, the biggest problem we have here at the Watchtower is that many Jehovah's Witnesses are complaining, and they're calling us, and they're saying that they don't like the idea of people running the Watchtower that are not anointed. Now, if you remember, if you have some Watchtower history on your belts, you remember a term they used back in the 90s, late 90s, and they called helpers of the governing body. They were bringing helpers of the governing body in to help the governing body that were not anointed. They called them the Nephilim. Do you remember that? As a matter of fact, it did not go over good. Now, Nephilim, you got to go all the way back to building the temple in Israel. And what they did, there were Israelites back then that were not real Israelites, but they joined in, and they were carriers of beams and wood and construction people to help build the temple, but they were not Israelites. So they were called the Nephilim. So consequently, they were bringing these so-called Nephilim to help the governing body. I'm not going to beat you to death on this story, but that's why they invited me down. They were looking for new governing body members. There were 4 people that day that were being interviewed. I was one of them. Friends, that's when I got a real look at who the Watchtower organization is. That's when I said, this isn't a religion. This is nothing more than a business masquerading as a religion. So, I go back a while, and, when I first started in activism, there wasn't a whole lot of people. Today, I'm so glad that we have so many people that are joining forces. Even Randy, he was just on. He does videos. He exposes the witnesses. Anne-Marie comes on here with her program. She exposes the witnesses. Dick Borgie. You got John Cedars. You got Mark O'Donnell, Kim and Mikey. I applaud all of these people. All of these people that are exposing the Watchtower, the more the better. I say that we have to all join forces and continue to do this because, friends, it is really doing a job on them. All of us and all those people on YouTube, Critical Thinker and all of these YouTube people, Watchtower Escape, that they're all doing a wonderful job, and I applaud them all. So let's keep it up. Let's keep this activism up. Let's keep going after the Watchtower full force. I believe we can make a difference. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. My goodness, we have a lot to talk about here tonight. So let's talk about some other things that are going on behind the curtains. What's really amazing to me is Jehovah's Witnesses are hemorrhaging, but yet at the same time, they want to give you this feeling that they're growing, and that is not true. And the reason why they have to do that, now I want you to think about this. If the Watchtower can cover up pedophilia and they can just sweep that under the carpet, do you think a little lie here or there would hurt them? Do you think a little bit of lies here or there is going to affect their conscience? Absolutely not. So I want you to realize that they're going to tell you the Watchtower is growing. They're going to tell you that it's just amazing what's going on, and more people are coming to grips with Jehovah's Witnesses and want to join. That's baloney. That's all baloney. That's not happening. Don't listen to that propaganda. That's not happening. They're hemorrhaging right now. They are hemorrhaging big time. In fact, there's an article now. I talked about this in the last couple of months. There was all kinds of thoughts on the Awake magazine. What you do is when you do Jehovah's Witness World News, sometimes it's very hard to make sense out of nonsense. And that's exactly what I find myself doing when I do this news every week, that some things don't make sense to me. Now, it came across from a number of forums online, including Reddit, that you guys listen to, and perhaps even post in there. But it came across that the Awake magazine was going to disappear. They weren't going to do it anymore. And also it came across in other forums that the Awake was going away. But now all of a sudden, we see an Awake magazine for the year 2021. My goodness. So now it looks like they're kind of resurrecting, if you would, the Awake magazine, but something's entirely different. I'm going to put a picture up. Well, let me put a picture up. Just give me a second here. I'm going to put a picture up of the newest Awake magazine. I want you to see this because it's kind of connecting with an audience that is kind of unusual here. But I know why they're doing it. I'm going to give you my feelings on it. So let me get in here. Let me just get this up so you can see it. Just give me a second. It takes me a little while here sometimes to bring things in. But let me get here. Let me get the article up. And we'll see if you guys can see it. If you're on Facebook, you'll see it. This is the new Awake magazine for 2020. And let me just go in here and get it. Just give me a second. I got so many images here. But let's do this. Let's put this here. And you're going to see it here very shortly. This is the newest Awake. Just give me a second, and you'll see it on your screen. All right. There it is. So that's the newest Awake for 2021. Now, I thought the Awake magazine was going to disappear, but all of a sudden they resurrected it. And, I thumbed through it. I looked through some of the articles. And what's really amazing to me, it's all about India. It's all about India. And take a look at the cover. Now you see an Indian family. You see the Indian lady. You see her husband and the two little children. And there they are, wisdom for life and happiness. And there they are walking along a river. The Watchtower is great at portraying happiness. So they're all smiling and there's elephants walking down the river. My goodness, I mean, this is typical Watchtower art, right? But I'm thinking, Watchtower is now, it looks like they're shifting gears to India. See, Watchtower sells hope. The only way that they're in business, the only way they've stayed in business is to sell hope. The whole purpose of the Jehovah's Witness ministry is to sell hope and hope that selling of the hope will recruit new membership. So now they are going after the Indian people. They know that membership equals a paycheck for them. So the more members they can bring in, the more money they can bring in. So what I see here is this article. All of the articles in this Awake for 2021 deal with India. Every one of them. It's unbelievable. I could show you some more pictures, but I'm not even going to do it. I mean, just take my word for it. It's all about India. So the message here of the Awake magazine to the Indian people, they're hoping it will motivate them to listen in more, to attract themselves to the witness work. Now, why are they going after the Indian people? Friends, I have to say this, and you guys know it. Sometimes I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not. I know you guys know it already. What does a cult look for? How do you recruit people into a cult? I mean, let's get real. You're not going to go out in the richest neighborhood in town where the houses are selling for $1 million, beautiful cars in the driveway. You're not going to go out and knock on doors and bring those people into the Watchtower. They don't need the Watchtower. Who needs the Watchtower are people that are having a lot of problems in their life. And as of late, the Indian people, and God bless them all, they have been experiencing tremendous problems with COVID. People are dying in the streets. They have people being cremated in the streets, but that's not unusual. Don't take it to the bank and cash it. They've always cremated people in the streets. It's part of their Hindu activity. But the Watchtower knows right now that India is suffering. The people are suffering. They're sad. They're losing people, their loved ones, their fathers, their mothers. And now this is an excellent chance for the Watchtower to swoop in and try to gain some Indian recruits. But I'm thinking, then I got thinking, well, wait a minute. Is this really just for the country of India? Then I got thinking, no, it's not. Right here, I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. It's 20 miles north of Boston. 2 towns over is Burlington, Massachusetts. You should see the community of Indian people in Burlington. There are Indian stores where they sell Indian fashion, Indian food, lots of Indian people. And I like the Indian people. I have some neighbors here that are Indian people. They're wonderful people. Now, the Watchtower is going after them. They know that there's many Indian people in America as well that are concerned. They're losing loved ones in their home country. So this whole article in the Awake magazine for 2021 is trying to recruit the Indian people into the Watchtower. So, it's not just a theory, but the Watchtower is doing exactly what cults would do. They are going after the most vulnerable and the most distressed people. Isn't that what cults do? How do you think, Charles Manson went out and got people recruited into his cult? I mean, he was a complete idiot, right? How would he go out and do it? Well, he promised, he went to people that were distressed. People were having trouble. Come with me. I'll give you a place to live. I'll give you hope. And look what he had. He had these people go out and murder people. Terrible. This is what cults do. They try to find the most distressed people. Let's get them into our cult. That's how it works. The Watchtower designed this magazine, this new Awake magazine, to reach the hearts and minds of millions of people in India, also Indian people residing in the United States, and they're doing it all on the backs of COVID and people dying. What do you think about that? I mean, that's heinous. That is totally, totally evil. But isn't that what the Watchtower did? And I want you to stop and think. If you think that I'm totally wrong, and maybe you do, and it's okay if you do, I'm not going to be offended. But if you think I am wrong giving you this information, I want you to stop and think, well, why did you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, were you at a low point in your life? Were you going through a divorce? Were you having problems with work? Were you having problems with sin of some type? Well, why did you become a Jehovah's Witness? Were you at a low point in your life? You will find if you had a conversation with Jehovah's Witnesses, a good many of them became a witness because they were at a low point in their life. I'm not in any way degrading that. We all enter a low point in our life. There's a lot of reasons why we could enter a low point in our life. But this is what cults do. They smell it out. They sniff it out. And they're going to come after you. Oh, come with me. How do you think some of these young girls get into trafficking and prostitution? How do you think that happens? People do it because they're at a low point in their life. That's how the cults work. And we have to understand that. You're on JW World News. This is the world. This is the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But we talk about it here every Saturday night, right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. If you have anything to say, and you want to speak up, all you have to do is hit *6. Hit *6 on your telephone pad, and you can come in. Let us know what you think. Are you hearing anything here tonight that you think is not right? Are you hearing anything that you like? If you want to speak up, you're on our program. If not, we're going to move forward. I mean, we got a lot to talk about. So let's move forward. And anytime you'd like to come in, let me know, and I'll bring you in. You can speak up and let us know what's going on in your mind. Now, another thing I came across this week on the internet, and I think it's kind of disappointing for a lot of people. And Anthony Morris, well, you know him. He's the governing body member, right? And he was the one that was caught buying all of that expensive scotch up at a liquor store in New York. Can you believe that? He bought $1,000 worth of high-priced scotch, caught on videotape, but he's a governing body member. And so he gave a talk on JW streaming in the last couple of weeks, and he is talking about all of these thousands of Jehovah's Witness language groups and congregations that have been formed by these language groups. He's saying that they're going to be dissolved. Did you catch that? Now, maybe you have friends. Let me just bring you up to speed here on what he's talking about. Let me get rid of this picture here, and let's just, we don't need that picture up anymore. I don't want to confuse anyone. But anyways, when you stop and think about it, if you remember, I remember in my congregation, they announced who would like to learn a different language and who would like to be able to help start a congregation in a different language. And I remember the congregation I was in, this is going back, 15, 20 years ago. And people were saying, oh, yeah, I'd love to learn Chinese. I'd love to learn French. And then they were going to set up congregations. They were going to go out and, because some territories, friends, let me tell you, you know it and I know it. Some areas of the country, they have large populations of certain people. For example, in Lowell, the city that's right next to where I live here in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, Lowell, Massachusetts has a whole lot of Portuguese people. I'm talking about 20,000 or more. And also they have a large population of Cambodian people. Again, 20,000 or more. So the Watchtower is looking for people to learn the Cambodian language and even learn the Portuguese language, so they could go out and witness to these people in these territories, and then hopefully eventually set up congregations. So 15, 20 years ago, they started these language groups that went out. People studied, they learned, they spent a lot of time in research and trying to learn the language. And they went out and they started witnessing and doing the best they possibly could to get people in these language groups to come to know Jehovah God. Well, the amazing thing is, many of them did do that, and they actually set up congregations. They had many congregations that actually did form because of this. But just in the last couple of weeks, not Jeffrey Jackson, but Tony Morris, he came on and he wants these now dissolved. The Watchtower says it's not worth it anymore. He said we now have to focus more attention on the main languages of the country that you live in. So that's a complete reversal. Imagine if you went out and maybe you got some software to be able to learn a language. Maybe you studied immensely trying to learn a language. And now all of a sudden they're saying, no, cut it down. It's not working. We're giving up on it. Come back to your congregation. Forget about it. Boy, all that time and effort and all the people that you didn't meet. What are you going to do with all those people? Just drop them like a hot potato? Evidently. So Morris is saying that he wants you to come back to your regular congregation, and he wants you to go to the language of the country that you live in. Boy, I mean, we could really spin this to death, couldn't we? There's a lot that could be said here. And then they would spin this whole thing, as Tony Morris did, that Jehovah's hand was guiding them to do this. And then Tony said that the congregations have seen an increase in publishers and pioneers since the change. Well, wait a minute. I'm thinking out loud here. No kidding. Of course you'll see an increase when you merge congregations or these language groups in with your home congregation. Of course you're going to see an increase. So I don't know what the Watchtower is doing here, but I'm thinking that they think everybody's an imbecile. I think that they think people are just stupid as Jehovah's Witnesses. That's not a sign of growth. Merging people from one congregation to another, or having all of these people come back from these different language speaking congregations and now come together and meet in your home congregation, that is not a sign of growth. It's a way of covering up a lack of growth. Think about that. That's exactly what's going on right now. You're on with us. Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Hi, thank you again for everything you bring out. Watchtower, they're so good. I have to take my hat off to them. They could use this. We concentrated for a while, or we're really putting a lot of effort into helping people with all these languages that needed help. And that's all good. But you know why they're doing it? Supposedly, playing devil's advocate. This is going to be one of their excuses. Well, Armageddon is just so close. There's just no time anymore to waste on stuff like that. They've all had their chance. Jehovah knows their heart condition. We need to prepare for the final minutes of the final part of the final day. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, they're remarkable. They're remarkable how they can give this appearance of growth when it really isn't growing. But, I don't know if you guys watch business news or not, but I love business news. I'm a businessman myself, and I love watching business news. But, it's so foolish. You have these CEOs come on. Of course, they're trying to get their stock prices built up, and they're going to exaggerate. They're going to say everything they can to make it look like their company's growing when it could be tanking. They want you to buy stock in the company. You're not getting the truth. It reminds me of the Watchtower. I guess you're on with us. Go ahead, Redding, California.
Yeah, hey, Rick, this is Lee in Redding.
Yes.
I have a curiosity question.
Yes.
You've been talking about how many Kingdom Halls are being put up for sale. I haven't heard anybody mention if there has been any new quick-built Kingdom Halls since January 1st of 2020 until present. What do you know about that?
There is none. There is no Kingdom Hall quick bills anywhere that I have found in the last year and a half. There is no, even remodeling of Kingdom Halls has stopped. There is nothing happening as far as building, Lee.
I think that's an extremely strong indictment against the whole Watchtower Society that people need to be aware of. The implications are pretty profound relative to that. You're a sensible-minded man, and all of the people in our audience are sensible-minded people, and they're listening in here tonight. And when you have an organization that says that they're growing and they're doing everything they can to keep Jehovah's chariot on the move, but at the same time, they're not building any new Kingdom Halls, they're selling Kingdom Halls off, that's not a sign of growth. That's a sign of non-growth. If you're growing, you're building. If you're not building, you're not growing. It's that simple. I think the implications of reopening the Kingdom Halls are pretty dramatic, because if they open the Kingdom Halls and they only have a fraction of the attendance that they had previously, that's going to accentuate the decline dramatically.
Without a question, Lee. I mean, what it is see, what happens when we leave the Watchtower. Something happens in our mind that wasn't happening when we were in it. The fog is clear. We can now see, we can now think. We couldn't do that when we were witnesses. So the fog is clearing, we can think straightly.
Do
people have gotten a taste of freedom in this last year and a half that they don't, I believe a substantial number would not want to resume their former lifestyles.
Well, I'm going to tell you, many witnesses, I get letters in here to the 6 Screens on a daily basis. People send me information. And lots of information coming into the 6 Screens deals with a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses right now having anxiety attacks and even panic attacks. They don't like the idea of going back in service. That's frightening them. You know, if you haven't been out for a year and a half and now you're thinking, geez, maybe we have to go back out again, that's a frightening thing. Not everybody likes to go out in service, Lee. Did you like it?
I felt I was compelled to do it when I did up to a certain point, but once I learned about the dynamics of the Watchtower Society, everything changed. I think people have gotten so familiar with the dark side of the Watchtower that they're petrified with the implications of that being made increasingly public.
Well, you know, they say they have 8 million members. They might not have that many, but they all have to go out, at least prior to COVID, and maybe even now after COVID, and have to go door to door, knocking on doors all over the neighborhood, getting doors slammed in their face. I can remember working with an elder's wife. She was assigned to work with me. We were going door to door. And she says, Brother Farron, she says, I don't like this at all. It's not in me to knock on doors. I just can't do it. She says, I don't like doing this. There's so many witnesses that don't like doing it. So they had a reprieve. For 15 months, they had a reprieve. And maybe they might never go back doing it again, but some of them are starting to get panic attacks even thinking about it. What do you think? Anne-Marie, I think you're on with us. Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Rick.
No, I agree with you, Rick. I'm getting a sense that overall, the rank and file has lost a lot of their sizzle. You know, they were always being pumped up. They were always, remember I told you guys that when I was in sales, I was in sales and marketing for quite some time, a few years. And we had to go to sales conventions. And I was absolutely, I not only was shocked, but mostly I was almost laughing because it was exactly like every circuit convention that you guys remember. The badges, the friendly, the schedule, the talks from the podium, the examples that were given by those who were doing good and how showing how they, you know, you could do better and do good like them. And it was all about marketing the product. And what those conventions were was to put a fire under your butt, put a fire, get you all built up and all enthusiastic and making you want to, I can do that. And it just kind of reignite that fire to want to get it done. Like, get your enthusiasm all real, like you were high. And I realized that's exactly what Watchtower has done. Remember, they were giving a talk at the Thursday night meeting, and they were talking about pioneering and this and that. And I was getting so pumped up after, during part of the meeting, you know, I was in the back of the room with one of my children, and I saw a sister and said, hey, sister, you want to go out tomorrow? Maybe we could team up and do a little, you know, side, you know, get in some serious hours. That's what it is. I feel like you can only pump up somebody so much for so long. But what is there to get excited about anymore? I think their enthusiasm, it just can't get ignited anymore. I feel like they've lost their sizzle. Thank you, Rick.
Well, exactly right, Anne-Marie. What you're saying here is true. It doesn't have the sizzle. Even if a witness still is connected to the organization, which many are, it doesn't have the same sizzle. How could you have the same sizzle when you're not meeting your witness friends in person? It's all on Zoom. The sizzle is being lost. That's why as I said earlier, they need the media center. This is a way they know that many witnesses are leaving. They know that many witnesses have had enough. They're on the edge of leaving. They have to find new recruits. This is their last stand. If they get that video center built, they have a fighting shot at bringing in new ones that don't know anything about the Watchtower. But the ones that are in it right now, they know they're going to be leaving, many of them. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower does not want you talking about. But we love to talk about it here every Saturday night. And we have people call in from all over the country, all over the world, really, and speak their opinions. Now, we have a number of programs. If you're listening in here tonight for the first time, we have developed what we call the Six Screens Telenetwork. And we started 16 years ago with one program, what we're doing right now, JW World News. And over time, it has now grown into, we have right now approximately 15 to 17 different programs here by former Jehovah's Witnesses. And they give a program. Anne-Marie, the woman you just heard of, she has a program here every other Saturday night. And even after JW World News is over, our programs continue. We have after this at 9:30, we have an ex-witness. His name is Dan Clark and his wife Angela. And they have a program called Heart to Heart. And they're going to be interviewing a mystery guest tonight, a person that's really been hurt by the Watchtower. It's shocking. She's going to be coming in tonight. So stay with us. Now, at the end of this program, JW World News, it stops on Facebook and it stops on YouTube. But if you're listening in and you want to continue to hear more of our programs, there's a couple of things you can do, 3 things you can do. You listen on the telephone. You can listen on what we call our Six Screens video suite, where people come in, they can see me here in studio, they can hear, they can live chat. So why don't you do this? Why don't you, when this program ends in about, what time is it now? This program is going to end in about 45 minutes. So why don't you go to sixscreensofthewatchtower.com, scroll down, and we'll tell you how to listen into the other programs that we do here live every Saturday night. And let me tell you something. We don't mind doing live. This is all unedited. We don't edit these videos at all. This is all free programming. We're not going to clean things up and, well, I'm going to cut that out and put this in. What you're hearing here, you're going to hear. And this is live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, but it will go up as permanent. We don't adjust it. We don't edit it. So what you hear is the real unadulterated truth from people speaking up around the world on what's going on behind the curtains. All right, well, let's see what else we got going on here. So we talked about them trying to get people in India. We talked about that. We talked about dissolving these congregations that have special languages. That is, when I think about that, there are so many witnesses that spent so much time learning another language. You know, they bought software like a Rosetta Stone. Is software that you can purchase and you can study, and it takes hours and hours to learn a new language. So they just got learning the language. They formed new congregations, and now the Watchtower's coming in saying, stop. It's not working. We're not bringing a lot more people in. We're not baptizing people like we would like to. Let's stop it. Come back to your home congregation. What a letdown. Man, how is it? This is what I don't get. How is it that people can take all of this abuse? You might have taken abuse. Most of the people listening into this broadcast have been abused in one way or another. But yet we always, we'll give Jehovah's organization the benefit of the doubt. Well, phooey on that. People are finding out that they're not going to cut the Watchtower any slack anymore. Well, let's move on. Let's see what else we got going on. Well, what about backyard baptisms? Yeah, backyard baptisms. That's quite a title, right? Well, right now, because of the COVID pandemic, there's been no assembly halls opening up, no conventions where people normally would get baptized. So we get a lot of people being baptized as Jehovah's Witnesses in backyard hot tubs and pools. So that's kind of a unique thing. But I mean, I'm not making fun of it. But boy, it must look strange for the neighbors, right? You get all these people coming in, maybe in some cases, a number of people coming in and being baptized. Wow, look at that. It's amazing. But the Watchtower, they really take baptism seriously. They really say that's a necessary thing. You have to be baptized as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And, you have to adhere to our ways of doing business, and then you can be baptized. Friends, I don't encourage baptism for anyone. There's so many young ones that have been pushed. I'm talking about 6, 8 years old. And even the Watchtower, as of late, has been really pushing parents to get their young children, 6, 8, 10-year-old children, baptized. Do you think that's fair in this organization? Absolutely not. Because once you're a baptized Jehovah's Witness, something changes. The dynamic changes. When you're a baptized witness, and I don't care if you're baptized at 6, if you decide that you no longer want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you have the book thrown at you because you were a baptized witness. Yes.
I'm sorry. On Reddit the other day, I was reading a gentleman, a young brother. He said that he was being pressured to get baptized. And I think he's relatively pretty young, but maybe, 15 or 16, old enough to write like he was about 15 or 16. And something was thrown in his face. His mom referred to some poor little kid who got baptized. Rick, I swear to God, I read this, 4 years old. What is wrong with you that you can't dedicate your life to Jehovah? And this little brother over here, 4 years old, couldn't wait to symbolize his dedication to Jehovah. So it seems that they're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, because the more baptisms they have, the more control they have, but the numbers keep going up. Oh, we have so many baptisms, and every time an adult sees a child, quote unquote, want to dedicate his life to Jehovah and to show it publicly by getting baptized where everyone can see, it almost gives them a feeling of shame and guilt, like, oh, wow, I've been complaining in my heart. I need to be more faithful. It is all, to me, a ruse and a trick to get more money, get more members, and gain more control, because they can't have true, real control until you are baptized, because that's how they now own you. Thank you, Rick.
Well, there you go, Anne-Marie. Well, thank you. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Well, we certainly would love to have some other people speak up. Now, look, what I'm going to do is my wife, Susan, she came across some articles of jewelry that she thought I might like. And what it is, it's a necklace that has an octopus on it, and it has 6 tentacles. 6 tentacles for the 6 screens of the Watchtower, touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. So I got a number of these necklaces. I'm going to give them out to some of the women here on the 6 screens. But what I would like is if we can get a new caller coming in, and she would like to speak up and tell us about her trek in the Watchtower, I would like to send you one of these collectible 6 screens of the Watchtower octopus, 6 screens, tentacles, necklaces. So why don't you muster up the courage? Can you speak up here tonight on the 6 screens? If you're a new caller, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you, and I will give you one of those necklaces. And we have a number of women here on the 6 screens that I want to also give a necklace to, and I'll be in contact with you in the next couple of weeks. It's a nice little item, so stay tuned for that. Or if we can get anyone to speak up, anyone, maybe a man wants to speak up tonight. Look, I'll give you a $15 Dunkin' Donut card. If you'd like to speak up tonight for the first time. I know we have a lot of listeners on here tonight. We have a lot of listeners. I'm looking in on our telephone lines, a lot of people. So if you want to speak up for the first time, you're going to get yourself a $15 Dunkin' Donuts. You like donuts? You like honey dip? What do you like? Chocolate filled? What do you like? We'll give you a nice. I want you to speak up and talk. So if you'd like to say something about some of the things you heard or how you have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, by all means, now would be the time to speak up. Go ahead. Come on now. I see there's a number of people in there, but I'll tell you what, we have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that are still in there, and they hate to speak up. We'll put you on the voice changer. You want to go on the voice changer? We'll put you on the voice changer. Nobody's even going to recognize your voice. So why don't you come in and let us know. Let us know how you've been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. Well, anyways, let's go on. And yet that opportunity is going to exist throughout the whole program. Well, let's see this. I want to bring this up tonight. There was an article. I went back to the 2015 Watchtower, and there was an article all about Easter. And I'll tell you, it was the sickest looking image of Easter I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going to put that up for you. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on a 6 Screens video suite, even if you're on our YouTube, I'm going to show you an image the Watchtower put of Easter up on their magazine. I'll tell you what magazine. I think it was the Awake magazine. I'm not sure, but let me get in here and find it. But I want you to see this picture. It's sickening. The Watchtower portrays everything. The only thing that's good in the Watchtower is them. Everything else is just terrible. But let's get this image up. I want you to see this image. You're going to really be flabbergasted when you see it. Let me just find it here. I got a lot of images, but we'll get it up, and I want you to see it. And I have a lot to say about this image. A lot to say about this image. So let's see if we can find it right here. Where is it? Here it is right here. Here it is right here. So let's put this image up so you can see it. If you're on the 6 screen, let me make sure you can see it. Let's duplicate it. Let me get to my computer here. Let's duplicate the image. This is one of the sickest, disgusting pictures in a Watchtower magazine I've ever seen in my life. Now, you're seeing this. This is totally crazy to me. They're portraying Easter here. Look at how ugly. Look at how ugly. They have little chicks with a sour look on their face. The bunnies look like they're in major depression. They have an egg that's all cracked. Isn't that disgusting? I mean, really, stop and think about it. But this is what the Watchtower does, friends. What the Watchtower does, and they've been doing it for years, is everything outside the Watchtower is really a joke. It's terrible. The only thing that's good in the Watchtower is the Watchtower itself. But anyways, this particular picture was taken from a 2015. It was actually in the Watchtower, from what I can see here. It was an article all about Easter. So they have this ugly looking picture. What do you think that does? I'm going to give you my thoughts, okay? There's a lot of imagery in the Watchtower that really is not good. We know there is. You remember the images of, the earth quaking, witnesses falling into it, hailstones coming down from heaven. All of these images are not good. Little children falling in and being killed. Jeez, I mean, the witnesses portray this disgusting image of everything. But I know the reason why they put these images in the Watchtower. Now, that picture of Easter, that's an ugly picture. Those aren't cuddly bunny rabbits. Those aren't little chicks that you would love to hold and cuddle. Those are ugly. But the Watchtower has to do it. And look at that egg. Look at that egg with a big crack in it. That's just disgusting. Excuse me, what the Watchtower does. See, I know one thing. People think in pictures, they remember in pictures, and they are moved to action in pictures. And the Watchtower knows that. That's why for years in Watchtower publications, they have used imagery to get their message across. And it's despicable. But that there, I never saw that picture of the Watchtower, but if I did, I more than likely did. I just can't remember. Well, I wouldn't have because I was out in 2015. But if I saw an image like that, see, that would stay in my mind. I would remember Easter. I would remember Easter as this ugly bunnies, ugly chicks. See, they're doing that for a reason. It works. Imagery in the Watchtower works. It's unreal what goes on in that organization. But that's how they do it. That's how they do it. So I want to bring that to your attention tonight. I thought you might have found that kind of fascinating. We'll move on. We got more to discuss here. We got a big program coming up later on tonight, too. You don't want to miss Heart to Heart. That's the program that comes on after our news. Heart to Heart with Dan and Angela Clark. They have a mystery guest coming on tonight. She's going by the name Rebecca. And boy, she has a story to tell. It's shocking. So you want to make sure you stay with us tonight. They'll be coming on at 9:30 after our program is over here tonight. We got about another half hour to go. But we can do it. We do it every Saturday night. We never stop talking about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So let's just think about this. You know, when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, especially when you were younger, but even when you were older, there were certain phrases or there were certain things that you heard when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses that made you feel happy. And, you know, I got this from Reddit today, the forum. There was a post on there by a young man, and he was saying there's certain things he used to like to hear when he was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It made him feel happy. Well, that little subject got my attention, and I got in and I looked at what is he talking about. Well, anyways, he said some things that he was very satisfying to him and made him feel good was waking up on a Saturday morning to a thunderstorm. Well, what that meant is he didn't have to go out in service. Who likes to go out in service? Nobody likes to go out in service. So that was kind of interesting. Or he says, if I got a call from an elder that the meeting is canceled tonight. Yeah, that was, in fact, I'll tell you what, I live up here in New England. And, you know, many times on a really snowy night, but they wait always to the last minute. You know, they know there's a big storm coming in, the elders did, but they wouldn't call you up at like 2 PM and say, don't worry, no meeting tonight. They'd always call you about 5:30, 5 o'clock, a couple hours before the meeting. There'll be no meeting tonight, it's canceled. That used to make me feel good. Sometimes you just like to stay home and relax. Who likes running out to meetings, especially on a cold, stormy night? So these are things that people found very satisfying to hear. They always like to hear, too, not to conclude our meeting. People love that thought. We'll conclude our meeting. They wanted to get out of there. And how about in your Kingdom Hall? Man, I'll tell you, there were people in our hall that, boy, as soon as the meeting was over, man, they made a beeline for the door, for the exit door. They were out of there. They wanted to go home. Now, I'll tell you, many people also, they love to hear it when the service work was over. Okay, we're going to stop for break, and now that the street is finished, and they love that. They love that phrase. They love to hear that. And also, well, this is the last street, and that's it for today, right? Didn't you hear that? Didn't you love that saying? Okay, we finished the territory today. That's it. Maybe you like to hear about a water pipe breaking, and they had to cancel the meetings. Well, a lot of people wrote in. They gave all kinds of thoughts. But what do you guys think? Did you like it when a meeting was canceled? Did you feel, wow, I got a little reprieve here. I can relax tonight? How'd you guys feel about it? Were you happy to have a meeting canceled? My goodness, I always was. Friends, it's a chore. It's a real chore being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a job. It really is a job. And, especially when you have children. It's one thing if you're just a couple, but if you have children, you got to dress them up. I know my former wife, she had to press their dresses, polish their shoes, curl their hair, get them all dressed up, put their coats on, their boots on, lug them out to the meeting, get them in the meeting, get 5 kids in the meeting with you. They're sleeping on the floor. 9:30, 10 o'clock, you're going home. They're dead tired. They got to go to school the next day. Friends, it was a chore being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know how you feel about it. Go ahead. You're on with us if you'd like to speak up. Go ahead.
Rick, I think that most of the witnesses felt that way about it. I mean, who didn't like when the meetings were canceled? Who didn't? Maybe they put on that face that they did, but who didn't? That was something to look forward to.
Well, it was something to look forward to.
And then with the kids, like you said with the kids, like the meeting the next day, you have to feed the kids. The meeting started at 7:30, right? So if you had 3 or 4 kids, they had to be fed and dressed, right, and be at the meeting by 7:30. Then if you were an elder, sometimes the elders meeting, like during the weeknight, I've heard this several times from people. Sometimes the dad would be an elder, and they'd be sitting there in the hall maybe to 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And by the time you get the kids home, they're all tired. They're crying when they were little. It was unbelievable. Boy, I'll tell you that I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It was terrible.
And when you look back on it, I mean, I grew up. I don't have any kids. I grew up in it. So I just can't imagine just thinking back about the families. If, the people that I know that are out, and they look back on it, if you look back and say, how did we do it? How did we do it? They can't believe it. They can't believe it.
It was. And not only that, not just going to meetings, but conventions was something else. Oh,
I know your favorite convention, Rick. You always say the one here in New York. I remember that. You mentioned it so many times.
Oh, it was terrible. The 1969 Peace on Earth convention, 120,000 people at Yankee Stadium. And you might remember too, Shirley, well, it was 8 days. It was 8 days.
Yes.
From 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. That is torture. That is torture.
Yeah. Yes, I remember.
Oh.
And we had a family from Philadelphia. They had 6 kids. Now, the family was so large, some of the kids stayed with us, with the parents, and we had to find a house to take like 3 other kids. And the father, he was like, I think in the auditing or something, because I remember at Yankee Stadium, like, the youngest was a baby, like a toddler, and the mother wanted to get some milk or whatever for her. But the guys, like in the auditing department, I think he was in, they were able to get food during the whole thing. They didn't have to wait for the breaks. So they were able to get food. So me and one of the daughters, we found where they were meeting up in wherever in Yankee Stadium, and he was able to get some beverage or whatever for the baby because they could get food. I think it was auditing he was in at the convention.
Boy, yeah. So. I can remember, and I don't want to beat it to death, but I know I said it before. But I'll tell you, I'm 72 years old right now. And that was one of the worst experiences in my life, going to that convention in 1969. I was only about 21 years old. We had a little baby at the time, a little baby girl. And I can remember staying there in New York City, carrying a carriage. We had to be at the assembly, at the convention at 9 o'clock in the morning. So you had to get up about 6. The baby's crying, got to feed the baby, got to carry the carriage. Getting on a subway, a crowded subway in New York City, going to a hot stadium. And all I can remember, it was hot, it was smelly, it was, thunderstorms would come, there was nowhere to hide.
The first day it rained. I remember the first day it poured.
Yeah.
But Rick, I wanted to ask you, because you always mentioned this, did you drive to New York? Because I'm saying you always said you took the subway. Why didn't you drive to the stadium? I always wondered, did you drive? Or
Well, no. In fact, I drove to New York. In fact, I went down. I had a little Nash Rambler, a little tiny rat Nash, and my sister wanted to come along. I had my wife and our baby. Then my sister wanted to come along with her husband and her baby, and also they wanted to bring a Bible study. So we had 7 people in our little car, all squished together, and we drove down to Yankee Stadium. I mean, we drove down to the hotel. I was staying at the Holiday Inn. Now, what do you think, Shirley? I don't know if you remember or not, but what do you think a Holiday Inn in New York City cost in 1969? In 1969, yeah.
I'm guessing what, 15, 20? Is that a good guess?
Well, it was $28 a night, but that same Holiday Inn today goes for over 300, from what I gather.
Of course.
Yeah. So
but I just wondered, how come you all, since you had a lot of people, why didn't you drive to the stadium instead of taking the subway?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. It might have been because what it is when you get a hotel in New York, probably even way back then, it's so hard to find a parking spot. You know, you don't know what to do. So we just figured we get on the subway. But it's a good question. I probably should have drove to Yankee Stadium. But the last day I did drive there. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, like you said, the baby and the carriage, so you could have, driven. I didn't know what your reason was, because when you got back, you stayed in Manhattan, a hotel in Manhattan, right?
Yeah, it was in Manhattan. Yeah. And most of the witnesses.
And did they have like a parking lot for the visitors for Holiday Inn, or you just had to park on the street?
Well, I guess they must have had a parking lot. My mind won't even go back that far. The only thing I can remember is how torture it was. But it was just things I can remember. I can remember people being put on stretchers. They were fainting because it was too hot. And they were put on stretchers, and I can remember that. I can remember how boring it was. And boy, I'll tell you, the last day when that convention was over, I was so glad to get in my little Nash Rambler and drive back to Boston. I'll tell you, I was just so happy to do that. I couldn't get out of there fast enough, believe me.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And like I think I mentioned to you before, but the year 67, summer of either 67 or 68, when we used to have to go out of town for our conventions, because I'm in New York, and we went to Washington, D.C., and we met at the stadium where that baseball group, the team, the U.S. Senate, the Washington Senators, D.C. Senators used to play.
Right.
All 4 days, we did not, the bathrooms are open, but they were not in use. They would not flush or anything.
That must have been
The bathrooms are open, but they were not in working order. I'll put it that way. And they still held the convention for 4 days.
My goodness, no, it was terrible. They wouldn't allow that today.
I know they wouldn't. They would, even for a football game or anything, they wouldn't allow that. But I remember that. They were open. They were filled to the brim. Disgusting, I know. But the facilities, they were not in working order, and they held the convention all 4 days.
Oh, I'll tell you, sure, that was terrible. I used to feel so bad for my wife. We had 5 children, and 4 of them were girls. I could take the young boy, I could take him to the men's room.
Right.
But my wife had 4 little daughters, and they all want to go to the bathroom. And that poor woman would wait in line, and the bathroom stunk to the highest heavens. It was terrible. And, it was just terrible. When I look back on it, man, I am glad I am out of that organization. I am glad. Yeah.
And they always had always turn some men's bathrooms into women, because the women's bathroom always had the long line. Yankee Stadium, Baltimore, wherever, they always had to change a men's bathroom into a ladies' room, because the ladies' room always had the long lines. I remember that growing up. Wherever we met, they always had to change a men's bathroom into a ladies' bathroom. And still there was long lines. It
was not a good experience, Shirley. It really, really wasn't. But people used to think it was fantastic. I don't get it. I don't get it. I never got it. And in the talks, and the person would give a talk, and you wouldn't get anything out of it. And you didn't go out of there learning anything new. you always thought, well, I'm going to learn something new at this convention. You never did. They would promote it as, oh, you don't want to miss the convention. We're going to give you some new information. You'd get nothing. You get nothing. And I don't know how I could
Didn't they always release a new publication? If I remember correct, I was just a kid back then, so. But didn't they always, like every assembly that I remember, they always had a new book, right?
Oh yeah, they had book, and then you'd have to, get the book. But that's one of the things people went to get the books. But boy, I'll tell you what. When I look back on it, there's no way I could do it today. I mean, I was young at the time. I don't know how older people did it then. And there were older people then.
I don't either.
I have no idea. 21, I could do it, but today at 72, I'm passing. I'm not going. See you later. Really.
Yeah, I was just a kid. Like I said, I was just a kid, like 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. So I always look forward to eating the food. That's all I wanted to do. But I was just a kid. But as an adult, I couldn't picture myself. Matter of fact, I haven't been to assembly since I was like 19 or 20 years old, to be honest with you.
Well, there you go, Shirley. They're not even worth going to. And of course, they're not even doing them right now. But I'm sure
I know how I did it. I carried my binoculars and spent the whole time looking at everybody else.
Well, you were probably a young guy, Randy, checking the girls out, right? Well, that's what they used to do. That's how Jehovah's Witnesses would meet their prospective mate. It would be at conventions. They used to call it the meat market. And Jehovah's Witnesses would mill around, especially the single brothers, and looking for a single girl. And because the witnesses, you can only marry a Jehovah's Witness. So you're not going to find them in the world. So you had to find them at a convention. So there were many marriages made in Brooklyn that never really fared well. And boy, the Watchtowers really hurt so many people. But thank you, Shirley, for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. And thank you, Randy. When you went to the conventions, which ones did you go to?
Well, I went to, I guess the first international one I went to was in '69 in Kansas City. And it's just like you described, I remember my sister passing out, and the food service was so terrible. The flies were just in all the food, because I even helped them in the food area. But then I went down to another one I went to is another one in Kansas City a few years later, and then I think it was '75 or '6 we went to the one in Houston, the international in Houston.
Yeah, they had big conventions then, and boy, they really brought the people in. I don't know if they could do the same today. I really don't think they could fill those stadiums. I don't think there's enough interest in the witness movement. I don't think they could do it. Plus the high cost. I don't even know how I went to Yankee Stadium. I didn't have a good job. I was only making probably about $120 a week back then. I don't know how I even could afford to take off 8 days, stay in a motel. I mean, I don't remember how I even got the money, but I must have had it because, it's expensive. Even back then, only had $28 for a hotel room. Back then, it was a lot of money. But I did it. I don't know. Maybe I borrowed the money. I don't know where I even got the money. I can't even think. But it would cost people money to do that. Imagine what it would cost today. Imagine if they had a convention at Yankee Stadium today. Shush. You would minimum. To stay in New York City. I stayed in New York City. I took my wife down because she was a pain doctor that we had to see right down in Manhattan, and right down by Fifth Avenue. And boy, I went down there a couple of years ago. It cost me $62 to park for just an hour. And the hotel room, we stayed at a hotel. Fortunately, I had rewards, so it didn't cost me anything. But the hotel was $450 for the night. I couldn't believe it. But fortunately, I got it because I had rewards. But I'm going, my goodness, how could someone stay down there, go to a convention? A minimum cost for a hotel in New York City today is minimum. You'd sleep in a dump for $250 a night. Plus,
Don't they charge you for parking too? That's what at the hotel. That always got me.
Oh yeah, no, they did. They charged for parking too. Dick and I went down a couple of years ago to see a witness movie in Brooklyn, and we stayed at a hotel, and it cost us, they take your car away, it costs you $52 a day to park. But when I took Susan, my wife, down to the pain doctor, it was $62 an hour. We were already there about an hour, came back, how much do I owe you? $62. I'm going, you gotta be kidding me, you know? Jeez. So how could you possibly afford it? How could you afford going to a convention? And of course, they even had tents set up in the parking lot of Yankee Stadium. And, you know, the people were out there in tents. And I don't know if you could do that today or not. They might not let you do it. But plenty of people were camping out there and tailgating. And it was like a witness city. 120,000 people. It was totally amazing. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Boy. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of the conventions, I remember I go to one in this was in 2017. The title was I believe was Never Give Up, and it was in Sherbrooke City in Canada. And I can remember trying to get a seat, and trying to get a seat was very difficult. It was very hard as rock. So every time I have to get up and stretch, then sit back down. Then because I'm a pretty tall person, so my legs is touching the other seat that is hard also. So the locality that they rented was just awful and terrible. It was uncomfortable. My back, my knees, my shins, it kept on hurting, and I can't sit there to listen to the program rendering, and as I'm feeling uncomfortable. And then when you go outside to the alley or to the hallway, you have brothers holding signs saying to be quiet, saying to please take your seat, and I don't abide by those rules because first of all, the kids are crying, they need rest, they need to walk around, so they have no choice but to express themselves. So holding those signs is not going to stop them to be quiet, and also taking a seat, which is honestly excruciatingly awful because you're sitting there and you have uncomfortable seating arrangements, which is hurting your back and your legs and everything. And then the only people that get the comfortable seats is the elders or the infirm people. But for the rest, it's a hassle.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you for sharing that story with us, Jeff. It's no fun. I never looked at going to an assembly or a convention as fun. I looked at it as a chore. Well, my goodness, I'll tell you, every one of us out there, all you people in our audience tonight, I'm sure you all have a story to tell about a convention or an assembly that you went to. Being a Jehovah's Witness is not easy. It's really not. Go ahead. We get more people calling in tonight. Go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Thomas Hawks in Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah, I tell you, it's pretty crazy about that. Going to those conventions, all the insanity. Used to be, they cooked the food there, then they started having you buy just bags of food, like a sack. They just hand it to you. Then later on, they started having us go out and eat or bring your own food. But there's something else I just wanted to touch on. I know we've talked about it before, but I'm just kind of curious. I'm so curious. Do you have any idea of what they may do with these Kingdom Halls? I still think probably they'll end up selling them off later on. Just go to an online cult, try to get the meeting etc. unless they can stop it. But I'm just so curious what they're going to do with the halls. I still think they're not going to ever meet in them again. I think they got too many lawsuits against them. They're a high risk. And I think they figured it out that it's just better to go online. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Well, I'm in the same camp you're in, Tom. Yes, indeed. What you do, the Watchtower is all about money. So when the accountants figure this all out, they'll be the ones that make the final decision on whether the Watchtower goes back to meeting in Kingdom Halls. And they're gonna really sit down and think about this. They have an opportunity right now to make billions of dollars selling off Kingdom Halls and Watchtower property all around the world. And this feeds right into their model, their business model. You know, the COVID virus really has helped them. And if they build this mega center, which they want to do, that there really isn't any need for a Kingdom Hall. People can do this all online. They're going to spend $150 million to put this mega center to work. They don't really need Kingdom Halls. It's like a last stand for them, a last ditch effort. Not only that, they run the risk. Kingdom Halls are going to have this bad reputation. Seriously, people are going to drive by. Well, what happens? In fact, I even find myself doing this with Catholic Church lately. You know, that whole story was broken up here in Boston, where I live, when they came out and exposed the Catholic Church. When I go by a church today, all I can think of when I look at a big Catholic church, I say, man, all the pedophilia that was covered up. It's the same feeling people are going to get when they drive by a Kingdom Hall. The world is catching up on the Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe the witnesses aren't seeing it. Maybe they're turning a deaf ear. But the rest of the world is catching up. They're seeing this. They're watching these news programs. They're watching these special programs and reading newspapers. The Watchtower, I'm going to tell you, they're not in a good position. This is a business move that might make more sense for them to not open up. Plus, you got Kingdom Hall crashers, Kingdom Hall protesters. Man, I mean, this is not good press for them. It would be best, I think, if I was a governing body member right now, I'd say sell everything off, go online, hide here behind our gates up here in the remote area of RAMAPO, and forget about it. That's what I think they're doing.
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead. Sister.
I have a PMO that I talk to a lot, and I guess in the congregation they're in, they said that a lot of the people that are doing the Zoom meetings have discovered that they like not going to the Kingdom Hall. And I don't think the Kingdom Halls will last. Not just, say they do open them up, they're going to find out a lot of them don't go. And they won't have enough people in the halls that they have left anymore. And so I think they're just going to sell them off. And like you said, it'll just be an online thing. That everything they're doing right now is online. And they seem to be liking that and bragging about it and everything. So I think that they'll sell off the halls, and the assemblies, the first assembly this year and also the upcoming assembly are both going to be online. I mean, they're not even planning assemblies anywhere yet that I know of. And I haven't seen any Kingdom Halls open up yet where I live either. You know, and they're just going to be like an anchor on these people. They won't be able to pay for keeping them there empty. And if they do go back, they're not going to have enough people in the congregation to pay the cost for it when they get back. I don't see it working out at all. I think their only option is going to be just to sell them off. Either way.
Well, I think you're right, sister. I really do. And, you know, I have to tell you, too, sister, I'm glad you spoke up. I want to give you a 6 screens necklace. I want to give you a 6 screens necklace.
This ain't my first time on here.
I know, but I've heard you before. But what I want to do, I want to put a shout out to all of the women that listen into the 6 screens. And there's a number of them. You know who you are. And I want to let you know that we have purchased some special necklaces. It's an octopus necklace. It's a beautiful necklace. You'll be proud of it. And it has 6 tentacles for the 6 screens of the Watchtower. So, because usually there's 8 tentacles, right? But these have 6. My wife saw them, so I got some of those. All of those women out there, including yourself, sister, write me at JW World News. Give me your address, your physical address, and I'll put one in the mail. All of you sisters that listen in, you know who you are. By all means, write me. I've got the necklaces. They just came in a few days ago. I want to let you know that it'll be a nice little trinket to have. So do that, okay?
Well, is that a .com or I mean, where?
It's write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com.
Oh.
JW World News, and you're gonna have it'll be a collector's item. They're beautiful necklaces. They're
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
All right, so it'll be a nice little thing to have.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go. And
Thanks,
you
Rick.
and all you other sisters too, all you girls listening in out there, you know who you are. Send me a jwworldnews@gmail.com. I want to get you a necklace, okay? So do that for me. Well, anyways, my goodness, time. I'm looking at the clock here, folks. We're down to the last few minutes. So I just want to tell you that we have more programming coming up tonight. I want to thank everyone that spoke up here tonight on JW World News. Now, if you're on YouTube, Facebook, spread the word. Spread the word. Share it. If you're on Facebook, share it. If you're on YouTube, let people know we do this every Saturday night, 7 o'clock, JW World News. The Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But anyways, what I want to say, I got a few announcements. There is no 6-screen Sunday tomorrow. It's every other week. It'll be next Sunday where we do that. So by all means, join us next Sunday. We have more programming coming up, so stay with us. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, and we're going to shut that off here very shortly, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. 6screensofthewatchtower.com, and scroll down on the homepage. It'll show you how you can listen in to the rest of the programs tonight. Now, friends, people still want to send money here to the 6 screens. And I tell you all the time, don't send us money. I'm not being obstinate about this, and I appreciate all those that have, but I don't want you to send money. I don't want this to be a money-making proposition here. I want to do this because I want to help you. I want to do this because I want to help you. I don't think you should pay to find out what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So don't send money. The best thing you can do to contribute to the Watchtower, they contribute to us, not the Watchtower, but contribute to us, would be to speak up, as you people have done here tonight. That means more to me than money. So bear that in mind. Speak up. That means more than money. I can take care of this. I got a little studio in my house, and this is where I do it. I find it fascinating, and I want to help you. I want to help you to be able to find out what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, friends, thank you for coming in. I want you to stay. Dan Clark, his wife, Angela, they're coming up next. They have a program called Heart to Heart. They have a mystery guest coming on tonight. Boy, their programs in the last couple of months here have been very good. So by all means, why don't you stay in with us? I'm going to be ending right now Facebook. I'm going to get up. I'm going to end Facebook. We're going to be ending also YouTube. So let me just end Facebook right now. Just give me a second. And we're going to end that. So that's it for Facebook. We're going to be ending YouTube as well. So just bear with us, and we'll take care of that. All right, friends, we're going to Heart to Heart. So check us. Stay with us. We're just going to take care of this on. Hold on one second. Just got a lot of things going on here at once. But here we go. We're going to Heart to Heart. Dan and Angela Clark up next right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. Just give us a second to get things queued up.
You're on the 6 Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
And now,
in Disney.
Hold on one second. It's coming up next. Heart to Heart, right here on the 6 screens.
You say.
Well, we might have to let the music go tonight. We've got some issues going on with some of our clips, but anyways, we're going to bring Dan and Angela on. Hello, Dan and Angela. You're on there with us?
We're on with you, Rick. How you doing?
Well, we're doing good. Things are moving solid. We got a lot of people coming in tonight. It's really amazing on a hot summer night around the country. So we have people coming in, lots of them. Would you guys like to come on the 6 screens video suite?
Yeah, we would, except Rick, we're out of town. We're out in Denver area, kind of out in the country, so we're going to have to do it just by phone tonight.
Well, don't you worry one bit. So why don't we do that? We're looking forward to your program. I know you sent me some messages today. So do we have Rebecca coming on?
Yeah, we do, Rick. She's wanted to go by a special name. She didn't want to be known by who she was because, I don't know, she's got some rather deep stuff to share. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, the Watchtower, you know, being a literal government. And I was like, what the heck? But she turned over some heavy rocks. You know, she's a digger, and she's dug real